But thanks for joining us again for our hackathon series for these live streams. We're on week 2 of the hackathon. We are getting close to 100,000 signups, which is incredible. Keep building, keep working. You're doing great. We have some awesome tips and tricks here coming for you today. We have with us Paul, CEO and co-founder of Supabase. Hi, Paul. And also Tyler, DevRel engineer. Hi, Tyler.
Hi, everyone.
And also Alex from the Bolt team, chief of staff to the CEO. Hi, Alex. You know, if you've tuned in before, you're familiar with Alex and myself. Thank you for joining. If you're new to the live stream, we have a chat on the right-hand side here. Throw your questions there. We'll be answering questions all throughout the live stream. And this will be recorded. So if you have to dip for a meeting, this will be available on our YouTube channel after as well. Awesome. Okay, let's see. Alex, do you want to kick things off here?
Awesome. Yeah, excited for this one. Obviously, Supabase is one of our gold tier sponsors for the hackathon and a critical element of building functional production grade applications in Bolt. So thrilled to have Tyler and Paul here joining us today. So yeah, I guess for those of you who haven't built a fully functional app with Bolt yet, you might not have encountered Supabase yet. So maybe Paul, you could kind of give us an overview of like, what is Supabase? What is a database? What is the difference between a traditional database and Supabase? And why might someone want to consider implementing this into their application?
Yeah, it's a tricky one to answer if you're not a developer, but I'll do my best. So basically, Supabase is actually a full kind of back-end service. So you might, for example, for the hackathon, if you're going to build like the next Instagram, you probably need somewhere to log your users in. And then once they're logged in, you need somewhere to store their data. And maybe you need somewhere to upload the images and the videos. And we provide all of that infrastructure for you. And we make it really simple, hopefully really easy for you to get started building all of that backend. And then we'll power it. You hopefully can get started really fast and then scale up kind of indefinitely. And that's our tagline, build and we can scale to millions. So our integration with Bolt is really awesome. It means that you can kind of prompt away and a lot of your backend will be built. And then you can see all of your users, all of your data inside the Supabase dashboard. So once you jump into that, you'll see this kind of database tab that looks a little bit like an Excel spreadsheet, but it's really powerful in that you can store kind of huge amounts, gigabytes of data, hundreds of gigabytes of data. And yeah, hopefully after the hackathon, you managed to scale that big.
Absolutely, yeah. Maybe we'll see a major media or social platform come out of this thing that'll really put the scale aspect through its paces. Awesome. Well, before we kind of jump into the more tactical builder aspect of it, I thought it'd be interesting to hear a bit about the history of Supabase as a company. I know a lot of people building for the hackathon are interested in starting their own businesses, or they're part of a small business that's looking to grow. And so, we like to kind of cover a little bit of that for the folks as well. So yeah, I guess I'd love to just start at the beginning. Like, how did you come up with this idea and decide that this was what you wanted to start?
Yeah, actually, so both my co-founder and I are 3-time founders. And so we're kind of, I guess, always been building startups, well, at least for a long time. This particular one came out of my second startup. I was using a tool called Firebase, which is another really incredible backend as a service. And I was using 2 different databases. Firebase was one of them, and Postgres was the other. And Supabase is built around Postgres. And I actually needed to migrate a lot of stuff to the Postgres database, but it didn't have this really neat feature that Firebase has, which is the real-time features. So this allows you to do things like collaborative chats or, seeing when someone's online and dipping away. And so I ended up building a server that allows you to do that with Postgres. and I open sourced it, which means that kind of anyone can host it themselves. And it started gaining popularity. And around that time, I've been wanting to build a database startup for over a decade now, and I thought that was a good time because I was getting some stars on GitHub. And yeah, we started in January 2020, right before COVID hit. And so the timing was a bit odd, but it's been a bit of a dream run. We ended up getting into YC for the summer 20 batch, just as everything was getting locked down. But it was really good for us because we ended up building a kind of fully remote company, and it's open source. So it lends itself very well to that sort of, builder environment.
Yeah. How did you meet your co-founders?
Yeah, it's a great question. We originally met for another accelerator called Entrepreneur First. It's one in we met in Singapore. Originally, it's from the UK, and that's where we each did our second startup. So I ended up like moving out and doing another startup, but my co-founder did one, and so did a couple of other people that are now at Supabase. We all went and lived kind of in a hacker house together. I think there were 6 different startups being started there, and now 4 of the people are working in Supabase. So yeah, we lived together for a while. We did a few hackathons together, funnily enough, some Ethereum hackathons, different hackathons. So I knew that he was a great builder and just a good human. So I really wanted to work with him and wanted him to be my co-founder. So when I was doing this one, I reached out to him and I kind of promised him that we'd try get into YC, which he wanted to do for a long time. And luckily we got him first time. Otherwise, I think he probably would have left. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm also very familiar with the benefits of living in a hacker house with smart people. That's also how I met the co-founders of StackBlitz, which is now
nice.
Volt. And yeah, Eric and Albert, our 2 co-founders, were running an awesome hacker house back in the day in Palo Alto. So
No way.
really, yeah, it was 2011-ish, and yeah, a lot of interesting folks you can meet when you just bring smart people together and start working on ideas. And that's kind of the idea for the hackathon, that we're running right now as well, is give people a opportunity to meet up in person. I see in the chat someone's like, where do I find these houses? I'm honestly not sure at this point. I'm a little out of the hacker house scene, but I'm guessing there's probably activity on Reddit and Discords and Twitter and stuff where you might be able to hunt some things down. But you can also just start one. Just find a few friends that want to work on entrepreneurship and hop in a house together. And I think for the hackathon, we'll put the link in the description of the video, but the best opportunity to find a team that could end up being co-founders or hacker house roommates in the future is to go to some of the IRL meetups. That link's spread all over, but you should be able to find that through hackathon.dev as well. And yeah, it's really an awesome environment. The other thing that seems to be a pretty awesome environment that I think a lot of people watching would probably love to get into is Y Combinator. So curious to hear kind of what that process looked like, how you prepared for it, and if you have any advice for folks who might want to follow in your footsteps there.
Yeah, YC is pretty awesome, especially for a company like us where other startups build on top of us. And so we kind of get access to a lot of founders who are building. We get to see the trends that are happening subsequently. Getting into YC is actually pretty hard. I think there's like some statistic that is like harder than getting into Yale or something like that. I don't know what it is, but a lot of people apply all around the world. What they look for are people who are like basically good founders who are trying to solve problems that they know intimately. And so the process is you apply online, and then through the application, which should be really, really concise, you should work really hard to make it like dense because they've got to read like 10,000 applications each. If you get through that and you've done a good demo, then I don't know if they still do this, and they didn't do it for us because it was COVID, but they used to fly everyone to Silicon Valley to do a 10-minute interview and you'd literally just pitch your idea for 10 minutes and that's it. And it's a pretty intense 10 minutes because you obviously have to get all your points across. And to do that, they'll ask a question. You can't really ramble. You just have to answer that question, and then you sit there until they've got another question to ask. And as long as you kind of do this well, they'll ask very pertinent questions, very pointed questions, and your job is basically just to answer those and very concisely. And if you do that, it generally means that you understand the problem very well.
That's cool. Yeah, that sounds like an intense experience, like kind of like a Harvard interview, or like a final round, business school interview. But I imagine some pretty impressive folks that you got to meet and work through that program.
Yeah, well, the main people who are impressive, and I think the thing that's unique is the partners at YC are all people who have scaled businesses. So, like, my group partner was Michael Seipel, who built Twitch. So, I'd turn up every week and he'd just be like kind of tearing apart our business idea. But it's not like an intern telling me, "Hey, this is a dumb idea." It's it's the dude who sold Twitch for $1 billion who's telling me. So I kind of respect his opinion a lot more. And you don't often get that at the accelerators.
Yeah. Speaking of Twitch, this is just a kind of a random aside. We have 1,200 people watching the stream. Hello, everybody. Super happy to have you here. Normally, everybody is on YouTube. For some reason, today, everyone's on Twitch. I don't know why that's happening, but that's awesome to see. Speaking of Michael, and I'm blanking on his co-founder's name on that, but
Justin TV. Yeah.
Yes,
it was Justin TV before they.
Yeah, Justin TV.
Justin
yeah, walking around. Yeah, that carries the camera live stream pack. He was like one of the first, I guess maybe one of the first, if not the first, Twitch IRL kind of live stream guy. But his YouTube channel, by the way, for folks that are interested in building and entrepreneurship, definitely recommend that you look it up. I think his tagline is "Your favorite entrepreneur's favorite entrepreneur," and I don't know if he's still posting actively on there. Incredible stuff, though, what he did post. Highly recommend. Okay, we are going to get to a demo here very shortly. One last thing, though, that I did want to talk about, which was this tweet of yours, Paul. Let me share my screen here. Let's see, put that on stage. There we go. So Supabase weekly signups. Something strange seemed to, so you start the company. Okay, cool. It's going along. Very, very nice growth. And then you kind of get to the Q4 of last year, and something quite strange happened here. Can you talk us through what caused that absolutely unbelievable spike in Supabase users?
Well, at the start, we thought we were getting DDoSed because people were spinning up so many databases. But the funny thing is, this chart looked really good even before December. But yeah, basically what happened was, all the AI builders came along, Bolt came along and started, doing some pretty impressive stuff with the Supabase platform. And so, our kind of new user signups and database launches went through the roof. And I think I looked today, like now with I think we're at 2.8 million developers signed up. So it's just, I think the last time I did a board meeting was right before this. It was like 1 million developers. And the growth rate's been insane. So thanks to everyone who has already signed up and is using the platform. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And I think that just speaks to the number of people that are empowered to build now that weren't 12 months ago. And really, really exciting to see where that will go. So with that in mind, let's empower some more people to build. Appreciate all the background there. I find that stuff super, super interesting to hear about. And now let's get into details of how you, the viewer, can use Bolt and Supabase to put together a project, get it out there, and get your business started. So, Tyler, I will pass the mic over your direction.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. So I've got a little demo going on. So let me share my screen real quick. There we go. Hopefully that is on there. Yep.
Yes.
So we have, by the way, I'm having a bad internet day. So if I do drop out, or some kind of technical issue maybe. So if I do drop out, please let me know. But yeah, so here we've got a simple blogging app that I created within Bolt. So nothing too special, but all these data are being stored within the Supabase platform. And I also have added some authentication so the users can log in and kind of manage their profiles. And users can obviously view these blog articles. What I've added here is certain blog articles has this premium tag. So what I want to do here is to view one of these premium articles. I want the users to have to subscribe and become a paid member because it's a premium article. But yeah, later in this demo, we will actually try to add this payment system subscription using Supabase Edge functions and Stripe. But for now, let's take a look at behind the scenes of what the database looks like to power this blogging platform. So we can jump into the Supabase dashboard that powers this blogging platform. So if you have not used Supabase yet, connecting it with Bolt is incredibly easy. As you go through the regular flow of creating an app using Bolt, if you want to store certain information permanently that is generated by the user, you would need to connect it to a database, hence use Supabase. When that time comes, you can just go up to this integration button. And from here, you can just click this Supabase integration button, and that'll run you through the process of connecting your project to a Supabase database. And once you go through that flow, you can just ask it to ask Bolt to just connect your project to a Supabase or create the database for the application. And once you do that, you get these nice database tables going on. So this is what Paul was explaining earlier, this Excel spreadsheet type of thing. So it's really just like an Excel spreadsheet. You have certain columns. Here we have an ID column, title column, content column, author column, and then each row represents a single blog article. So we have this advanced CSS grid mastery blog article, which is advanced CSS grid mastery. So as you can see, each row represents a blog article. And what's nice about using Bolt, using Supabase through Bolt, is you don't really need to fully understand how exactly these databases work. It would help to understand, there's columns and rows and this and that, but you don't really need to fully understand how exactly it works because Bolt is really knowledgeable when it comes to databases or Supabase in general. So
to double click on that, Tyler, though, just to get people who maybe haven't thought about a database before, so they do have a little bit of a conceptual understanding, like how should they think about what a column in a database represents?
Yeah, so a single column in a database represent a single type of information. Like for example, we have a title column. Obviously, that's a single type of information that every single data entry has. So every single blog article has a title, hence we have a title column. Every single blog article has a...
Oh no. Tyler's having a little internet instability issues, so we'll probably be back in a minute. I will, let's see, Kate, if you can keep an eye on, I guess I'll leave him off stage for a second while he figures that out. So there's a question here that's relevant to this that I wanted to pop up on screen. So let's see. So we're talking about columns, and I don't know where this comment went, but the comment was about, oh, here it is. From Dad Boss New England. By the way, I remember I saw your username on the last stream. Choose which information that you're gathering from the users and storing in the database. Absolutely. And that's why I asked about this question, like, what is a column? Because effectively, when you're prompting, you do get to choose, and in many cases you will need to provide like some sort of a data entry form to actually capture that particular piece of information. And so just to make this like concept of what is a database and what is a column super simple, you can think about this question of like, okay, maybe you have a landing page and you have a lead capture form and you want to build that from scratch, which, to be honest, you don't necessarily need to do that, but maybe, it's like a forum and you need to capture the information and you want the people to be able to find their username and their full name or their mailing address, etc. Those would each be specific columns in the database. And databases have multiple tables, which you could think of similarly to like different sheets in an Excel file. And so the particular table that would store all of your users would generally be called your user table. And the columns in that table would be things like name, username, what have you. And when you're prompting, if you just tell Bolt, hey, I'm making a forum and can you please have a Supabase spin up a user table, it'll probably do a pretty good job. But if you want to get more specific and explicitly choose which information you're gathering from your users and exactly how you want to store it in the database, you can absolutely use that more specific language of, I want to create for my user table, I want it to have these columns, and then every user that drops in to your app will become a new row in that table. And so you don't always need to go to that level of specificity, but understanding these concepts that we're walking through here will help you have like extremely direct and specific control over what's called the database schema. Just the list of which tables and columns exist. So at the risk of getting too technical there, that is my answer to your question.
I think when it comes to databases, there's kind of a lot of terms, but actually they're way more simple than databases. It probably sounds super scary, but it's not. It's just like a bunch of data. And like once you learn the terms, like it's all pretty familiar. So generally the way I like to describe the tables, you just have like a noun. So if you're going to build a library, you need like books and you need authors, and each one of those is a noun. Like a book is a noun, a thing that you pick up, and an author is a person that you point at. And then the nice thing about databases is you create a table for each. And then, basically you can say, oh, this book is written by this author. And you can kind of point the book towards the author and the author towards the book. And so this is the nice thing that you can do with databases. So when I say, give me all my books, you can also get back the book and the author at the same time. And then the author might write multiple books. So you can say, give me all my authors, and it'll give them back all the books that they've written. So it's pretty simple, like when you relate it to real life. So don't get too bogged down with all the terminology. But I think like at the end of the day, Bolt's so good at just building it for you that you can kind of ask what you want to build, and when you pop into Supabase, it's kind of already done, which is cool.
Absolutely. Okay, back to you, Tyler.
Yeah, sorry for that. But I'm back. Hopefully, back permanently. But yeah, basically that's how I think about it. When I'm using Bolt, I don't really think too much about, okay, should this be a single column? Should that be another column? I really just ask Bolt to basically turn this app into a database, and it kind of does a really good job of taking care of, pick and choose which piece of information should be its own column and whatnot. But yeah, so that's how database works. And we also have some authentication. So let me walk you through how authentication in Supabase kind of looks like. So coming back to the Supabase dashboard again, we have this authentication tab. And here we right off the bat, we can see all the signed in or signed up users. So if you have 1 million users in your app, you will have 1 million data entries right here. For this demo app, there's just me right here. But basically, whenever a user signs up to your app using their email or password, or you can easily configure Google login, GitHub login, Apple login, or any of those login methods, they will show up right here. And kind of Supabase takes care of this authentication in a very easy and secure way. Authentication involves passwords and a lot of secrets and personal information, and you want to keep them nice and secured. And what's nice about Supabase is you don't really need to worry too much about security because we got to cover it there.
How do you actually do the Google login on an app? Because I've done username and password login, but that feels so antiquated these days, and I actually don't know how you do the Google thing.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So it's just a simple few steps. So we can pop over to the sign in/providers section and scroll down to where you can find the Google provider. Click it, and then here you have to copy and paste a few information you generate on Google Cloud Platform's page. So you can Google this, and I'm sure Bolt actually kind of walks you through the process if you ask it to, which is my favorite part. But what you can do is you can just Google search Google Cloud Platform, and then you'll be redirected to this this nice developer UI that Google has. And then within there, you can configure Google login, and it provides you with 2 strings that you can just copy over. One is called a client ID, and another one is called client secret. There's a neat step-by-step instruction video for how to do this. But basically, it's just clicking here and there, and just after a few clicks, you get those information. You can just copy and paste them right in here. Hit this enable sign in with Google, and hit save. And that is all that takes to set up Google login.
Awesome. Looks like there's another question here. Does having multiple sign-in options have any downsides?
Not really, no. I think it just increases user, obviously you don't want to have 10 different options maybe, but having 2, 3 options on top of email and password, from a technical perspective, there's no downsides at all, and it's just a matter of user experience.
Awesome.
Okay. Yeah, well, coming back to the demo. So right now within this Supabase, I have configured a database and authentication. So within this app, users can sign up to view the article, and also all these articles are stored on the database. But now I want to actually collect real money from the users. So let's actually try to configure collecting payments as a demo. So what we can do here is we can pop over to this integrations button up here and click Stripe. Stripe, if you don't know, is a payment collection service that a lot of apps out there use, and Bolt integrates nicely with Stripe, and Supabase integrates nicely with Stripe as well. So this Bolt, Stripe, and Supabase combination is great. But once you click this integrate with Stripe button, Bolt asks you to go get a Stripe secret key or Stripe API key. Now you can Google Stripe and sign up and create a new Stripe account. And I kind of done that already. This is my sandbox Stripe environment. Now I can find a Stripe secret key by heading over to developers and API keys. And this is my secret key. You don't want to expose your actual secret key. This is a testing environment, so I can expose it. Nothing's going to happen. All you can do is you can just give me fake money or steal my fake money. But I can copy and paste this Stripe secret key right in here. And then Bolt can automatically import all the Stripe subscription or Stripe product that I had previously created within Stripe. So within the Stripe dashboard, I had configured a single product before jumping on to the stream, and we have this monthly subscription product. It's a monthly payment for $45 that just represents a user being on the premium subscription for our blogging service. So I'm gonna check this and bring this product all over to our application. And then once you do that, Bolt in the background is going to create a few different things. It's going to create a few different Supabase edge functions. And what Supabase edge functions are is it's a server-side function that takes care of any kind of secure server-side function that is run in a secure environment. And the reason why we need the Supabase edge functions to integrate with Stripe is because of the secret key that I just copied over. The secret key is a very powerful key. Once a user obtains the secret key, they can basically steal money from you, basically. So all the money that you've accumulated in Stripe, they can really do whatever with it. And you obviously don't want that to happen. You want to run.
Oh, great. So now I get to explain edge functions and API key security. The good news is Tyler and I did chat the other day about this. And I think this point is really important. And if you've been spending a decent amount of time on Twitter recently, you've probably seen some of the issues that can occur if your secret keys, whether it's for Stripe, Supabase, OpenAI, Resend, anything, you do not want your API keys that are allowing your application to interact with third-party services to be exposed to your users. And so that is where edge functions come into play. It's another one of these fancy words that sounds intimidating, but really, the edge function, as Tyler, like what you and I were talking about yesterday, it's like, how should a non-technical user think about an edge function? Like, it's really not that complicated. It's just, do you want your API key stored in the code that's going to be run on your user's computer? No, because if it's being run on their computer in their browser, they're going to be able to open up the inspect mode in Chrome and see your API key, which is bad, or you just have it run in an edge function, and then it'll be running basically on Supabase's server, and your user cannot see the code that's inside of there, and then they can't see your secret access key, your API key. So that's the concept there, and it is an important one. So back to you, Tyler.
Yeah, thank you so much for wrapping that up. And yeah, basically that's what it is. So you have bunch of code that runs on user's device and bunch of code that doesn't run on user's device, and you want to run Stripe related code in an environment that doesn't run within the user's device. But okay, so I've come back to this demo screen, and it has, let's see, so it has created a few edge functions. It also seems like it wants to edit the database schema, which is the one down here. And I'm just going to hit apply change. And seems like there's a problem or not. Yeah, okay. It looks like it went through. So let's try it out. And if there's a problem, we can come back to that. But it did set up a few edge functions. Edited the database automatically without us even needing to tell it to how exactly to modify it. Just Bolt just knows what exactly it needs to do. And it's taking care of a few security related stuff and improving user experience. That all sounds very great. So let's try it out. So I can.
So I'm seeing some questions on some of this stuff in the chat here. So, okay, this one, I'm going to pop this one up. If you're non-technical, don't be intimidated, but this is bringing up kind of a technical question, which is this .env file. And this is like a programmer thing. You really don't need to think about it too much, but I will tell you if you're curious, what does the .env file do? It's a place where, from like the builder's perspective, your secret keys will be stored. The purpose of it is that basically if you push your code up to like GitHub to store the code, you do not want any of these keys that you have as a builder have entered into your project to be exposed to other folks that are looking at your code. But that's really, and Bolt will handle that for you. Your secret keys will be stored in the .env. You don't need to worry about that. The thing is, so you really don't need to think about this .env thing at all. But it's just, I'm calling it out because the question was asked. This doesn't have anything to do with really what we're talking about, because what we're talking about is not in the code repository. We're talking about in the final like production, like deployed version of your app. Where is that secret key stored? And you need it to be in the edge function, not in the part of your app that is accessible to the user. But yeah, env is more like a development concern.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. I think that comes up pretty often. You know, people kind of sometimes automatically assume that your key is secure just because it's stored in a .env file. That's not at all the case. Even if you store a certain key in the .env file, if that key is shipped with the code that runs on user's device, that's you got the same problem there actually. But let me go back and go back to that screen here. So moment of truth. Let's see. Can you all see me now? Okay. So let's hit this upgrade now button, and hopefully the demo god is on our side. And this goes through, which it looked like it went through. Let's see if I can open one of these premium articles. And let's hit refresh. Okay, so it seems like it didn't do it on the first try, which is all right, which happens. But we can see all the tables that Bolt created for us. So we have Stripe customers, Stripe orders, a whole bunch of tables related to Stripe. So these manage different aspects within Stripe. But let's see. So the goal is Bolt.new earlier created this is premium flag within user profiles. So this is premium flag is tied to my signed in user. And when this value is true, meaning this user is premium user, then I should be able to view this premium blog post. So maybe we can ask Bolt to flip this flag when users started paying for a premium subscription. So let's
And
see.
this is a perfect example of what we were talking about earlier, where it is helpful to understand this concept of a column, right? In this case, this is a true false variable that lives in a column. And understanding that concept allows you to kind of look through the tables and be like, okay, I didn't, explicitly tell Bolt that these are the columns I need, but you can kind of look and say, is premium? Oh, right. Well, when I pay, that should be flipped to true, and allows you to kind of troubleshoot and understand how the app's working. And yeah, so it's a good example of where that comes into play.
Yep, user profiles table. So I'm asking Bolt a simple question, a simple task to just flip the is premium flag to true when user starts paying for the subscription. And as you can see, it's a simple prompt, nothing too fancy going on here. Usually Bolt is able to pick it up, but let's see if the demo god is on our side. If not, that's also fine. Yeah, usually it might take a few little runs, and because of the time constraints, we might not have the luxury to kind of keep going. But let's see if this attempt kind of does it. So let me go back and okay. Think I would have to. You know what? Let's just do it. Let's just do it again. So
Try
become a member now.
resubscribing. Yeah, I think that was SAA's question. There it is, SAA. We are. I don't know. Did we actually do this before? Because SAA in the chat said, did you actually even check out originally?
Oh yeah, right. Now that I think about it, we did not. So I don't know what that was, but okay, whatever it is, it fixed it. So
okay, nobody steal Tyler's credit card number here.
This is a very fake credit card information that you can just you can use in Stripe's testing environment. So it's processing, it's doing something. Hopefully, oh yeah, it looks like it went through, right? Okay, oh right, because I didn't deploy the project, sorry. Yeah, so what you have to do, actually, what I should have done is you can hit this deploy button to deploy your project live. But let's see. Let's go back to, while it's doing that, let's go back to the Superbase dashboard. And once we hit refresh, we can see that this is premium flag is now true. So I think we can actually try it out. Open this premium article, and we can actually take a look at this entire article. You have to become a premium member. Dialogue is no longer there, and we can actually read the entire article. So just with a single prompt and then one follow-up prompt to kind of fix things up, we were able to quickly connect a payment solution to this article. And you can kind of take the same idea to whatever project you got going on, whether you're creating like a Airbnb clone or some kind of consultation service where you want to collect money from your end users. You can basically follow the same step, connect Superbase and then connect Stripe, and set it up in a way that you can just collect actual money from your users.
Very cool. So that was a great walkthrough there. All the way from authentication, determining which articles are premium and not premium, and integrating payments, all while on internet that's on and off. So I think that even strengthens the power of the ease of use here of this demo. So maybe now would be a good time to jump into some questions. So I'll probably pull some stuff up from. Okay, so there's definitely a question that we had in our notes, and I've seen it multiple times in the chat, so we might as well go there first, which is security, right? We're talking about collecting users' data, storing it. Security is and should be top of mind. And okay, Ashi, nice, thank you. See, we're working together here. I needed a quick one to pop up on screen. This is something that we should definitely dig into. So, what is RLS, row level security? What do users need to know about it, and how should they go about properly setting it up and properly checking to make sure that it is properly set up?
Should I take it, Paul? Yeah, okay. So row level security is a mechanism built into Postgres database, which is the database that we provide at Supabase. And it's essentially a mechanism to control which user has access to which row within the database. So coming back to the demo screen or Supabase dashboard here, let's see. So articles. We can set up row level security policy in a way that only premium members have access to premium content. I know that earlier, before we even sign up for premium articles, we were kind of able to take a look at some of the article, or at least the first part of the article. But we can kind of configure it in a way that we can give it a condition of this is a condition that has to be met in order for a user to be able to perform this action within the database. So we get to control how users can interact with certain roles within the database at a role level. You can control select, so how users view your database. We can control insert, so how users can insert or add new data to your database, how users can update your database, and how your users can delete data within the database. So using this row level security policy, we can ensure that basically a bad attacker cannot just randomly access other people's personal information or randomly delete a bunch of databases or database entries from your database. You have full control of how exactly your users should access your database. And you can take a look at all the defined row level security policies within your Supabase dashboard. So we can head over to this authentication and policies tab. And here's where you see the definition of how your users can access your data. This might be a bit overwhelming for some people out there, but if we pop open this articles table, the row level security policy that's set on this articles table, if you think about it, the basic idea of this articles table is the blog article is just open to everybody. Everybody should be able to view it. So the definition of this table, the definition of this policy says basically it's true. True meaning under any condition, people should just be able to select or read data from this table. Whereas, for example, a user's profile, not everybody, let's see, not everybody should be able to update just any user's information. You should only be able to update your own data and nobody else's. So in this policy, we have this auth.uid. This function returns a unique user ID that's tied to yourself when you're signed in is using Superbase auth. So that unique user ID has to equal your ID. So through these policies, you can define, whether certain data should be accessible by just the general public or only certain group of people or just a certain user. You have full control of it. And I know what I showed you right now might be a bit overwhelming, but the great thing is I didn't have to write any of these policies. Bolt.u did it, and I didn't even ask it to write role-level security policy, or I didn't even ask it to make it secure. Bolt knows that Superbase database needs to be secure, and it needs to implement these role-level security policies. So as Bolt.u creates all these tables, it creates these role-level security policies on behalf of you automatically. So throughout using Bolt, I personally have never had to really think too much about making sure my tables are nice and secure. Usually Bolt understands the context, the access pattern of certain tables, and it's able to implement all these role-level security policies so that your data is nice and secure.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think another good point was made by Jack here in the chat, which is, the discussion mode in Bolt, which is that little chat, right there, is a great way to look at the row level security conversation. Because if it's not something that you're going to get in and deal with yourself, you can ask discussion mode about it, try to talk through, what the goal is that you're trying to accomplish. Like, for example, if it wasn't working, I only want premium users to be able to see the premium articles. Right now, that's not the case. Can you review the Superbase integration and try to help me understand what might need to be adjusted there? Definitely recommend that. I wonder, can you go through and just delete like all RLS policies by hand and then just ask Bolt to re-implement them from scratch as well? Like, because I see some people are like, well, maybe you get into these loops where you're prompting and it's getting confused and the policies are getting more complicated and it can't sort it out. So yeah, this is another thing that you could try is you could say, okay, in discussion mode, like ask it to review your entire database implementation, and then, design fresh RLS policies from scratch that meet XYZ criteria. So that's just if you're deep into debugging. I think a lot of the time you're going to get a really good start out of just what Bolt's going to do if you just describe as clearly as possible in just normal human language about, these are my users, these are the private parts of the site, these are the public parts of the site, and just set up the logic, only a user should only be able to edit this page if they created it, or, those type of things in normal English should get you most, if not all of the way there. But if you need to go deeper, these are some ideas. Let's see, where should we go next? Okay, we've covered edge functions earlier. I think, was there something called security advisors that you wanted to talk about here as well?
Oh yeah, let's do that. Great point. So yeah, whenever you're unsure of whether your security settings is fine or whether you have missed something, you can always turn to Bolt in discussion mode. That's a great way to sort it out. But we also have this security advisor feature within Superbase dashboard that kind of picks up obvious or sometimes not so obvious security related issues within your database. And what's neat is you can just click a few times to kind of fix those issues. So within this database, we don't have any errors, which is great. but we have a few warnings, so we can take a look at it. It looks like Supabase has a feature where it automatically detects leaked password, and right now I have it disabled, so it's not the best security measures that I'm taking.
Is
But
that
I can
like if your password has been in some major security breach, it'll let you know?
exactly. Yeah, that's what exactly it is. So yeah, I can kind of enable that if I want to make sure it's very secure for my users, or there's certain functions, search path, mutable. So some of these could be pretty advanced, but we can either view the function definition, or we can just ask Supabase AI, which is the AI that we have within Supabase, and try to have it figure out what exactly the security issue is and how exactly we can fix it or improve it. In this case, it seems like it's suggesting me to update the function in a certain way. So I can kind of go back. But a lot of these warnings generally are kind of fine. You want to watch when you have errors within this security advisors. So the role of security policy that I've been talking about can be turned off entirely on the table basis. And when you do this, which I can show you what happens right now. So when you disable role security policy for an entire table, for example, articles table, you can see this red dot appeared on the security advisors. And when you turn off role security policy on a table, it means anybody in the world can do anything with that table. And they can wipe out all the data, they can read all the data, they can update it to whatever they want to. It's really in a bad state. So something like that, you want the security advisors to pick up, which it does. And immediately it knows that role security on the articles table is turned off, and I should take immediate action. And I can ask Supabase AI to kind of take care of this and kind of follow its suggestion. Here, it's just simply prompting me to turn on rollable security policy, rollable security, which I did. So if I go back to authentication, close this, policies, we have articles table with this nice green security mark turned on. That means rollable security is turned on. But yeah, security advisor, before going to production, it's always good to kind of jump in here and make sure nothing is terribly unsecure, just to be sure that your app isn't in serious condition.
Awesome. Cool. Let's do a quick round of Q&A now here at the end as we before we wrap up here. So okay, here's an interesting one. Is there any way to check that the Supabase DB is only connected to the Bolt app? So the first thing I would say is if you are properly setting this up like we've talked about here, nobody else should be able to, they won't have the key to access it, right? So it shouldn't be an issue. But is there actually a way to assess like the connection history to the DB itself?
Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, we provide pretty extensive logs inside the dashboard, so you'll be able to see all the traffic coming into your database. There's also a way to definitely restrict network traffic down to IP addresses. I will mention that the point of the data APIs is to allow people, your users, to actually access the data inside your database itself. So you can definitely disable that data API and just use edge functions if you want. I would say that's probably a more advanced one, but just know that there are definitely levels of security that you can step into as you get more and more advanced. So definitely do the baseline level that Tyler went through. But if you want to go even deeper, which I highly recommend, by the way, then all of those checks and balances are available in the dashboard.
Awesome. This question came in like when we were still talking about the founding story and stuff, but obviously I think we've answered that. But this is just an interesting example because we did the one demo with the premium articles, but absolutely right. You could do you can totally prompt this into existence, and these would be different columns in your table to accrue track points or accrue different badges or what have you. Has XYZ course section been completed, true, false, etc. So, yep, those are all things that you can absolutely prompt into existence with Bolt. Let's see here. Will Bolt create the right RLS policies for you? I think we kind of covered this one as well, which is most of the time, yes, depends on complexity. Definitely worth checking yourself, worth understanding your columns, worth understanding. You're generally going to understand what the most important security policy is for your application, right? Include that in your prompts, right? Call that out. Like if there's one core thing in your app that you're mainly trying to protect, make that clear in your prompts when you set up the database, and the odds that that will be reflected in the row level security policies quite high. Let's see. Here's a question about databases being paused and what prevents that from occurring.
Yeah, is it user activity? Pretty close. It's lack of user activity. So if your database is just getting no traffic, just so you know, like when you're connecting to Supabase, because it's super scalable, you kind of get a full server. So we've got people who started on Supabase and within 10 days had 1 million monthly active users. Like it can definitely scale up, but that means that you've kind of got this machine running all the time that can handle all that load. And so what we want to do is make sure that if it's not getting used, then we're just saving the planet a little bit by pausing it. Your data will always be there. You can come in and restart it if you want, or if you want to pay for it because you're sure that your users will be coming eventually. But basically, after 7 days, if you have no user activity at all, then we'll just send you a message saying that we'll pause the database and you can restart it anytime.
Awesome. Here's a question about real time and how real time should real time be in terms of getting activated.
Yeah, it's fast. So if you're having any problems when you flip these things on, and you're pretty certain that you're not getting traffic, then just reach out to supabase.help, and that will capture all your details around the project, which project ID you've got, and our support team are awesome. You can also jump on our Discord, and they can help you debug. I saw actually Hijabi Coda in the YouTube. She's also really helpful in our Discord. But yeah, on real time specifically, it should be very fast.
Awesome. Let's see. Here's the question around using data captured during sign up to build user profiles in the application.
Do we need to create a users database and duplicate data into it from auth? Now, this is a great question. So generally, the pattern is that we'll capture all the user information. You can also capture some small metadata, but it's a really good pattern to ask Bolt to create a profiles table or something else in your database. And then I mentioned at one point that if you were building a library with 2 tables, books and authors, you would link them together. And so what you can do is you can say, hey, Bolt, I'd love to capture this type of information about my users during sign up, and then they should be able to create a profiles table or whatever you want to call it, and that will link one-to-one that data to the user sign up table.
Awesome. Here is, I'm not sure on the answer to this one. A new organization. Does that mean a new Supabase organization?
If they mean Supabase organization, then the answer is no, unless you're working with different people. The point of organizations is largely to help you organize your team. So, for example, if you're a small team and you're just wanting to work with, a small group of people, you might have one organization and just a couple of projects inside it. Each project is a database. If you're a huge organization, you might have an organization like a enterprise. You might have one organization in Supabase per department.
Very, very good. Let's see here. Okay, here's a tough one. I have run into this. I'm not sure. I'm popping it up. We're being vulnerable. We might not have every ounce of answer to this one, but I do have a few ideas, but I know that this can be a challenge. So it's around reverting changes, right? In the Bolt chat, you can just undo stuff. But the problem is, in the current state, if you just undo stuff that fundamentally changes the data model of the application, we're not like telling, Supabase like, hey, actually, how we said articles were premium? No premium articles anymore. Get rid of that, So this is a valid point. What I have a few thoughts, but curious from the Supabase team if you have thoughts on how you would approach this.
Yeah, this one's more complicated than you might think. I'll tell you why. We do have a process for reverting back your database to a point in time. The challenge is that imagine you are prompting away on your database and you say, hey, add a new table. And in the meantime, you've had a bunch of users sign up, and now you want to revert back your database. If you revert back, all of those signups that you just had would be lost because you've reverted your database to a point in time, a restore. So we do have something that can help with this. That's a bit more advanced, called branching. I won't get into that. The thing that you probably want to do with Bolt today is say revert the latest database migrations. I assume Bolt use database migrations. And so in that case, what it'll do is it'll step back the database changes. And in this case, you could still lose some data. For example, if you added a column and you added some data to that column and then you reverted it, you would remove that column and you would lose all of that data. But it does mean that if they're just reverting a very discrete change that you've asked for, you at least won't lose, say, the user signups that you've had in the past, say 1 hour since you've been working. So the sort of short answer is that yes, you can do it. I guess my response to it is be very, very careful about how you do it, and make sure there's ways to capture your backups with your database in Supabase dashboard. So make sure you take a backup of your database before you do any reverts.
Hey, it's like the commenters are reading our mind. But before we go on to the process of backups, the other thing I'll add to that is because there's a lot of complexity, AI is not superhuman. I mean, it's not human, so it's something, but it doesn't know everything and it can get confused. And this whole process we're talking about here is one of the things that I'd say is very high risk. So what would I do about that? I would be very, very careful in my prompting and try to do as much planning as you can in discussion mode or in another generative AI chat service to really think through, like, database is not something that you kind of want to just be like, make it purple, make it a little bigger. Oh, let's move it to the left. Like, that works really well. I think a lot of us have learned, oh yeah, you can just iterate. You can always just send another prompt. No big deal, For UI, that is true. But for some of the reasons that Paul kind of mentioned there, database, it's not ideal to be making a lot of iterative back and forwards and backwards changes. So the more you can do, I would explicitly ask in discussion mode, right? Or if you're in Perplexity or ChatGPT or Gemini, I'd say, think like a database engineer. have I given you enough information to fully plan out the database schema to meet all the needs of my application? Just I would really take your time on that prompt before you say, okay, let's spin up the DB. Because if you get it right the first time, that's going to just be the best case scenario. And then you don't have to worry about the reverting and this and that. So
I will point out as well, by the way, this is nothing sort of new or distinct to AI builders. Even me, for the past 10 years, I spend far, far more time thinking about the model of the data and how it should fit and like iterating on this before I really lean in. And then from that point on, I take the mindset that it's forward only. And so I spend some time doing this. It's well worth it. And it's a pattern that you'll probably need to adopt regardless of how good AI becomes.
100. Yeah, that's a great point. Another, to make it even more clear, I mean, tell me if you like this approach for a prompt-based, engineer, or even if you were just planning, in a Google Doc, having like a actual like bullet list structure. Like if you really want to take this to the nth degree, like the final output, you could have a bullet point list structure where every table and every column is represented by a bullet and sub bullets. And you don't have to figure that out yourself. Discussion mode or any other chat, AI service can do it for you, but you can literally get, this doesn't, you hear like DB schema, tables, columns, rows, row level security. It sounds complicated, but if you can literally output this as effectively a bullet point list, and then you will know, it'll be human readable, and you'll be able to see right there, this is everything that you should then see in Supabase when you log in. After that initial prompt to set up the DB, you can go into your Supabase panel and you can make sure that you can find all of the tables and rows or tables and columns that you saw in your list. And like that, that strikes me as how I would start if there was pretty high complexity in terms of like planning this out ahead of time.
Yep, I love it. I think that's great.
Okay, backups. I actually didn't know that you could do this, so this is great. I'll learn something here.
Yeah, well, the nice thing about Supabase is we've really leaned into industry standard tools, the most popular tools. Postgres is the world's most popular database. It's also open source. What this means is that there are uncountable ways to back up your database within the Supabase dashboard, with tools, whatever. You just go to OpenAI and say to it, hey, look, I've got a Postgres database. I need to back it up. What can I do? It will give you, ask it, give me 5 options. One will be called pgdump. It's a little tool that you can run on your own computer, and that will create a backup. And then you get all of your data to your local machine, literally to your local machine. And I think you should do that anyway. Don't just trust us for backups. Do it yourself. But we do back up your database, just so you know. And then, just get into the habit of constantly backing up your database in the same way that you would always hit Control S on a spreadsheet.
Awesome. Okay, this is another one I actually don't know the answer to. Can you connect a Bolt project to an existing database, and how do you go about doing that if that is possible?
Tyler, do you know that one?
Yeah, I'm sure you can. Yeah, Bolt lets you connect to any Supabase project, whether there already is a bunch of tables or whether it's empty. And Bolt is able to, I believe, read the content of the tables, so you can kind of work backwards. I've tried this actually. You can set up a bunch of tables within Bolt, within Supabase, connected to Bolt, and then you can ask Bolt to create a nice front end from those tables, and then Bolt is able to kind of work backwards and then create a nice UI that fits the set of tables that exist within Supabase. It's not the most I don't know if it's the most efficient way of creating an app, but it's a new way. It's another way, and it's kind of fun. And
this is really interesting. I'm just going to put this note right here. If you're a YouTube content creator and you're seeing this, I've not seen anybody do the tutorial on how to do this. And here's where this could come in handy. If you're migrating, like let's say you're an agency and you need to migrate, right? a legacy application and you want to rebuild the front end in Bolt, well, you would need to take the database from that legacy application, wherever it was, you download it, right? Put that in Supabase and then build the app on top of it. I bet you there's some real money to be made through doing this. And I have not seen the YouTube tutorial on how to do that. So just a thought there. Okay, we're coming down to the last few here. I know we're over, but these are really good questions. So I just want to get through them. Okay, here's one. This is hackathon specific. How do you add the built with Bolt badge to your project? Well, I could spend time, on explaining that. And there's a lot of different ways you could do it, but somebody actually made a tool to help you with that and posted it on Twitter. So I just dropped that into the chat. I saw that and I'm like, not only will it help you put it on, but it'll help you like get it nicely sized and responsive, etc. So go check that out. Let's see here. Would you say Bolt's easy enough to navigate as a person with only Microsoft Office level training could handle it? I have a good idea, very limited experience. Great question. Like, if you're still here, Kat, you've kind of seen the live stream. I think you should have a sense of like, there are some things where you can take it to a super advanced level. And if you're trying to do something really complicated, there's like some things that you might need to teach yourself. If you're making something super complex, if you're making something simple, like a business website for a small business, and you just need to capture leads, and maybe, you need to integrate it with a tool like Jobber to, schedule your visits for your home services business. Absolutely. That is something that you can do as a completely non-technical person. I think actually what it doesn't really require like technical skill set. It's more like a problem solving attitude, like the willingness to sort of identify something you need to figure out and leverage modern tools like discussion mode in Bolt or any of the other, LLM chat services. It's unbelievable what you can accomplish just with conversational AI and the right questions. So the other thing I would say is if you're a person that is brand new to this, hop in the Discord, hop in our subreddit. We got a lot of really, really helpful people there that are just dying to answer good questions. You put good questions and good vibes out there, and share your idea, right? I think everybody's excited about building in our community. And so people will be motivated to help you bring your idea into reality. And so yes, I would definitely encourage you to take a stab at it. Last question here. This one I just addressed really briefly on, we have this same issue with Bolt, and the way we address it is after you sign up, there's a little pop-up modal that asks you some questions, and you could store that in a table called onboarding survey and gather that information. And then like Paul was mentioning, you could reference that from a user profile table. The options are limitless there, but essentially if you need to know more about your user after they've signed up, ask them in a survey. And if you're a new Bolt user, you'll see our version of that. Feel free to steal some ideas from there. Will we be able to see how Tyler prompted for this project? Yes. If you're comfortable with that, Tyler, we could drop your project in the YouTube description. So come back to the YouTube channel in about an hour and we'll have that in there for you guys to check out. And then there was just a couple good vibes. Recently enabled all these complex functions with the help of Supabase. That's awesome to see. And I think this kind of goes back to how we open things up and the inspiration for Paul doing this in the first place, which is it's open source, no vendor lock-in. This is just the technology that you would be doing to spin this up anyways if you were a DevOps engineer at a Fortune 1000 company. And it's really awesome that this is made available to even folks whose previous computer use experience is Microsoft Word. So really, really awesome, and super appreciate our partnership with you guys. It's obviously been huge for the capabilities of what Bolt can do. I know we have a lot of exciting ideas about what the future can hold there. And yeah, really appreciate both of you joining us here today and sharing your insights.
Thank you very much for having us. It's been great.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, like we said, this will be recorded, and we will include all the relevant links and where to find stuff, Discord, all that good stuff. Awesome. Thanks.